So at the end of this week's parsha, it talks about things about Simcha. So we're going to start the paragraph after the Yud. The Soif HaParsha, the Dubar, Oidis Shol for Golim. At the end of the parsha, it speaks about the three Yom Tovim. Specifically, the three things are called Regolim. Regolim is the word leg. Because the three Yom Tovim of Sukkot and Pesach and Shavuos, Yidden were Oila Regel. They went up to Yerushalayim by foot. So the Rebbe is going to connect Regel to the three Amudim, the three pillars upon which we stand on. In other words, that the whole Yiddishkeit, the whole world stands on the Torah, Avodah, and the most Chassadim. So it says, the Sicha Parshas, the Dubar, the Shol Regolim, at the end of the Parshas, speaks about the three Regolim, pilgrimage festivals. Like it says, 3 times a year. Every male should appear. Not just about the mitzvah being Oila Regel, but also the chiyuv of rejoicing on these young tovim. Well, the Siyum Me'inyan calls of the Pasuk with the Yel Simcha Chag, and at the conclusion of the matter, it's written in the Pasuk concerning the Simcha of Sukkot, V'hayisa Ach Sameach, like they always have you show, you will be only joyful. The Shabbos Ach, like medicine in Mother, so the word Ach, which seems to be unnecessary, and as we know, every word of the Torah is exact, and if there's additional unnecessary words, the Chazal always derive different halachas and different other types of things from it. So we learn out this is to include and add that the nights of the final day Yom Tov, in other words, Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, which is one day in Eretz Yisrael, they should also be joyous, not just the day, but also the night of Shmini Atzeres should also be joyous. The Mevorchim asked about this. The commentaries asked, how does it appropriate this matter with the rule? When the Torah uses the word or rak, those two words means only. When the Torah uses the word only, the Chazal usually derive that it is lessening a certain obligation. Only in such and such an instance, not in a different instance. But over here, the Chazal say that when it says by Yisa Ach Sameach, that you will be only happy, that the word Ach, since it is superfluous, since it is unnecessary, comes to teach you something that we wouldn't know. It's in the terminology of Chazal, it's called a ribut. Instead of being a mute, a lessening is instead a ribut. So how does that fit? Since an ach usually means a mute, a decreasing, a limiting of something, how can the Chazal over here use it to add something more? The days of Yom, that even the nights of Shmini Atzeres will be obligated in Simcha. Yes, Shlomo, then we could explain this by the level of Torah known as Remez. There's 4 levels, Pshat, Remez, Drush, Soy. And the way of Remez, according by the avoid of a person, Sholosh HaRegolim HaMalderach HaAvoidim B'Sholosh HaAmudim Regolim Sha'aleim Oilim Oidim. The 3 pilgrimage festivals are similar to the Avodah in the 3 pillars, which are also pillars, are like feet, they support, that upon them the world stands. Torah, Avodah, Gmilos Chasadim, which earlier in the Sicha, the Rebbe also spoke about these 3 things, and that it's hinted in the Rosh Hashanah of Elul, that the Rosh Hashanah of the word Elul hints on Torah study, and hints at the davening, Avodah, and it hints at giving tzedakah, Gmilos Chasadim, or B'chlol, Avodah Tzadikim. In general, Torah Avodah Gmilos Chasadim is the Avodah Tzadikim, because later in the Sicha, earlier in this Sicha, later in the Sicha that we learned on Sunday, he speaks about that. Additionally, there's also the hint for Tshuva and Geula and so on. It says, this avoid as a part of the service of Hashem in general has to be out of joy. As it says, Even though it's Hashem with Simcha, you should serve Hashem with joy. So whether you're learning Torah, whether you're davening, whether you're doing Gnos Chasadim, it has to be out of joy. You serve Hashem, your God, with joy and gladness of heart. Including also the perfect and complete joy. Ach Sameach is Hamaramezes ala Simcha Hagdoila. It hints at the great joy. B'yosef. It comes about through celebrating the three pilgrimage festivals down here in our world. Even in such a world where there is something that at the beginning of the parsha says, see, I'm placing before you today, meaning that there's the positive and there's the negative. So even in such a thing that speaks about at the beginning of the parsha, where there's a world that there's a possibility for negative things, for things that are the opposite of good and life, even in this world, we need to do our avodah of Simcha. Regardless of the fact that we find ourselves in a world that's limited, which is the idea of miut, lessening. As we said, the word ach comes to decrease. So the world is in the general state of decrease, meaning holiness, spirituality is not powerfully revealed. It's also actually here, the Rebbe is first saying it's limited and small and minor in time. It has a limited time of existence, has a limited place, the world. It's not infinite. The nice was that Olam has to, in addition to this, the word Olam in Hebrew is related to the word Helam, concealment and covering. That the godly light is less and in a concealed way. In such a world, there are the two paths, the path of life and good, and the other, the second path. Despite that there is this miut, we say is the word lessening and decrease in all these ways. A yid decreases the less aspect of the limitations and the concealment of the world. He makes the less of the world less so. He makes the limitations of the world less so. And he's overpowering the service. Through that is added to increase. That through that something is more now. That we have now more godliness, more joy. Skip the brackets. A big amount of joy. Apparatus together that breaks through boundaries. I believe the idea of the infinite. Simcha have built-in Mugbelas and the unbounded joy. Minshechas Bigvul comes down in boundaries. The oilam, the of the world, the limitation of the world has over there the infinite manifest in it. So in the limited, in the finite world, in the lessening of the world is brought down an infinite amount of joy. Despite that the joy is such a powerful type of joy, Simcha, the shoulder, the golem, the joy of the three pilgrimage festivals is limited. Kadin, like the halacha says, Bezdin would send out officers during the three Yom Tovim to assure and ensure that the joy should not lead to negative spiritual things. In other words, they would limit the joy. That was the Shalom for the Golem. From this we come from to a higher level of joy. The final days, to include and add also the final night of Yom Tov, meaning it comes to include and add the joy of Shmini Atzeres U'Kos She'oz Oichem Es HaKofes B'Frach U'Kos Torah B'Simcha L'Maylam Didavak Bolim. Then we set our kofes up and especially on Simchas Torah, with a joy is beyond measure and boundary. L'mayla mesimchas Yom Tov sh'na Torah, higher than the joy of Yom Tov that's Torah based. In other words, hakafas and the din of hakafas on Simchas Torah, and even rejoicing with the Torah on Simchas Torah is not something that says anywhere in the Torah, whereas the joy of the regalim says in the Torah. But dafka, because it's something that doesn't say in the Torah, that's why the joy is even greater than the joy of those young tzayvim that are explicitly stated to be joyous in the Torah. Because it's a result of the Yidden service, because Simchas Torah and the Hakafas Simchas Torah and rejoicing with the Torah and Simchas Torah is only a Jewish custom. So therefore it's not something that came from above, but it's something that Yidden did by their service, and therefore the joy is so much greater. So, the dargis hageula. This is similar to the perfection of the level of redemption that earlier in the Sicha that Rebbe spoke about, that beyond the perfection of the avoid of tzaddikim, of the three pillars of Torah, avoid and sasadim, and beyond even the level of tshuva, there's the level of geula, which is it's beyond, see, I have placed before you a blessing, two paths. Because in the time of Gula, there won't be two paths. There will not be two paths and matters. There won't be these contrasts of two different paths of the concealment of the world on the one hand and the revelation of godliness and much joy on the other hand. And even higher than that, there won't be the two paths of full, believable, limitation, and infinite. All there will be is nothing beside him. In other words, nothing besides Hashem. Also, like we spoke about on Sunday, that a Jew is so permeated with godliness until there's no room for something that is the opposite, like we said before. Until we bring down the bittul of there's nothing, no one else, also into the world, that the world is permeated with this bittul, that the experience that there's nothing besides Hashem. There's a joining of the finite and the infinite. In such a way that there's no two lines or two paths. That the very finite itself becomes infinite. If you have a flame like it will be in its perfect and complete state when the future will come with Mashiach. Al derech Praz's station of Yerushalayim, similar to where it says that Yerushalayim will be an open city instead of being a walled city. And at the same time, it says, I will be, Hashem says, I will be for the wall. So on the one hand, you're saying it's open. Open shows on infinite, and a wall shows on the finite, and Hashem being a wall to the open city, to the infinite, means the joining of both together. According to this explanation where it says only joyous, the word ach, that the word ach comes to limit and say that the joy is not the type of joy that can be described and limited by the term joy. Like the limited joy of the three pilgrimage festivals, the word Aksamech says it's not that type of joy. It's of a different type of joy completely. Simcha joy as beyond boundaries. Ad Kasimcha del Osimar till the joy of the future time of the Mashiach. Ad Kedekak to such a degree, there's no need to send officers to enforce and make sure that the joy doesn't go out of bounds. And he goes on, he compares this to the joy of Purim. Just like the joy of Purim. That comes specifically, again, from our avoidance. When we have self-sacrifice in the concealment of exiles of arbitrated, and Akati Abdid arbitrated Shanam, the Chazal say, since we're still in Golan, we're really still servants of arbitrated. Simcha Ad Loyad of Purim, the joy of when a person does not even know to distinguish between Haman and Mordechai in Purim, It doesn't say that they sent officers to control the joy of Purim. Even though the joy was so great, they cannot distinguish between cursed is Haman and Mordechai should be given, be blessed. How come? Why is that such a high joy? And why is it not necessary to send any officers? Because the entire being of the person is bound up with Hashem in a way that there's nothing else. That his will and the way he acts cannot be contrary to Hashem's will. He doesn't need to reach an understanding and knowledge in both paths. He doesn't have to know about Orur Haman on the one side and Baruch Mordechai on the other side. The term that the Rebbe used also in the beginning of the Sicha, he bows by himself automatically without thinking. Lo yodam. It's not, he doesn't have to use conscious thought. Because he's standing beyond the idea that I've given you life and the opposite. Earlier in the Sicha, we also mentioned this. There's demands of meditation and of knowledge. But there's two paths, and you have to choose life. So this is not such a level. The level of Purim, the level of Shmini Atzeres, the level of where the person's whole entire mitzvah is completely identifies with Hashem, that there's nothing besides him. There's no place and no room and no need to think about the different paths that are there before him, because automatically he chooses the right. It's not only a personal thing, but this also comes down into the world. Like it's brought down the Medrash in the future when Mashiach comes, even a fig tree will cry out for like the phobia of Shabbos that you shouldn't pick it on Shabbos. So you see the awareness of Hashem will permeate the entire world, even things like a tree. Okay, let's just learn another 3 paragraphs over here. Yud Aleph. The Tfilas Mincha. Pointers we can also connect with the parsha that they read on Mincha, Shabbos Parshas today. Judges and officers, you will place for you in all your gates. Judges and officers these days need a guard because of untoward things. Similar to the officers that were sent through Bezdin to limit the joy on Yom Tov. The ultimate perfect state of judges and officers will be when Mashiach comes. Like I said, we return your judges like initially at the beginning, and your advisors like at first, or at first in the beginning. Skip the parentheses. Since Mashiach comes, the spirit of impurity I will remove from the land. The judges and the officers will not negate untoward things. This will only be in good things. Stop over here.